Today's video starts at a Sheetz, which is a convenience store chain with locations in 6 states. It's kind of like a quick trip or a Speedway. First, I'm going to get some gas. The current price is $2.99 a gallon, not a bad price right now. I'm also going to get some breakfast since hotel breakfast was pretty bad. Check out this fancy coffee maker. You choose what coffee you want, then it grinds up the coffee beans, then brews them, and adds flavoring, milk, or cream, whatever you want. My first stop is in Greensboro, and you can see the downtown skyline. Greensboro is the third largest city in North Carolina, and is one of the 3 principal cities in the Piedmont Triad area. The other 2 cities are Winston-Salem, which we saw in the last video, and Highboy, which we'll see later on in this video. Before I reach downtown, I stop at this Burger Warfare and check out this metal sculpture. I wonder if the sculpture is guarding the place or is getting ready for the Terminator. This giant robot is 20 feet tall, about 5,000 pounds, and is wearing a bunch of rusted armor. It also has a single eye that's lit up, and a very large weapon that can do some damage. The restaurant wasn't open when I got there, but I read that the inside of this restaurant looks like a spaceship that has been in battle, and there are some smaller robots. Also, from what I read, this restaurant serves not only burgers, but they have chicken sandwiches, wings, many kinds of appetizers, and milkshakes. Table sports bar food. Okay, now I'm hungry. Hey guys, it's Emily. Welcome everyone! Recently I took a quick trip through North Carolina to see some interesting places. In this video I'll show you my route eastbound through the Smoky Mountains and ending in the Piedmont Triad area this evening. It's gonna be another really busy day. Let's go! Let's look at a map to see today's route through the Tar Heel State. I'm roughly traveling the Interstate 85 route through North Carolina. Here's the route highlighted in pink. I started in Greensboro, then I'll head a little east to Burlington, and then I will head back southwest toward Highboy and Thomasville. I continue on towards Salisbury, and then visit places in the Charlotte area before exiting the state at the red star on the bottom left. After leaving that burger restaurant, I'm headed into downtown's Greensboro. Something was probably created in this building, but I'm trying to figure out what was painted up here. I see an old Pepsi-Cola logo, but I also see the word silver and other words beneath. There's a marker that says about 150 yards from here. A pharmacist named Lunsford Richardson created Vicks Vaporub in 1894. Richardson was a chemist who patented 21 medicines and helped alleviate some symptoms of croup and flu, including the flu pandemic of 1918. However, a few blocks south of here is where a significant event in the civil rights movement took place. At this F.W. Woolworth drugstore on the right is where 4 young black students organized a sit-in. On February 1st, 1960, Ezell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil were refused service when they sat at a lunch counter and each ordered a cup of coffee. The waitress, who was white, told the men, quote, "We don't serve Negroes here," end quote, and instructed them to go to the section of the counter where, quote, "Negroes sit," end quote. The store manager asked them to leave, and they didn't. The manager's supervisor said not to call the police and thought they would give up and leave, and this incident would be forgotten. The students stayed until the store closed. The next day, over 20 black students, including 4 women from several campus groups, staged another sit-in. Once again, they refused service, and this time white customers harassed them. At this time, the local media and police officers were present at the sit-in. Later that evening, the students formed the Student Executive Committee for Justice and sent a letter to the president of Woolworth's. The letter stated they purchased thousands of items from Woolworth's without issue, but when ordering at the lunch counter 3 feet away, they were told their money was not acceptable due to the color of their skin, and they were asked the company to take a firm stand against discrimination. By the following Saturday, more than 1,000 protesters and counter-protesters filled the Woolworth store, but a bomb squad was called in and everyone was forced to leave. On March 16, 1960, President Dwight Eisenhower made a public statement stating he was, quote, deeply sympathetic with the efforts of any group to enjoy the rights of equality and that they were guaranteed by the Constitution, end quote. The sit-ins have spread to other southern cities and to other venues such as public transportation, swimming pools, museums, parks, and beaches. This coffee cup sculpture was dedicated on the 50th anniversary of the first sit-in. It's called the Cup of Freedom and has a quote from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Upon post-research, I learned there are a total of 8 coffee cup sculptures throughout Greensboro, each with different themes. Today, the F.W. Woolworth building is a civil rights museum with many artifacts from the sit-ins that marked a turning point in the civil rights movement in the U.S. There's a marker in front of the building noting the 4 students conducting the first lunch counter sit-in on February 1st, 1960, and has the quote, sometimes taking a stand for what is undeniably right means taking a seat. Our next stop takes me to Gibsonville, North Carolina, at Freedom's Lutheran Church. I'm not here for a church service, but across the street is what I'm here to see. Check out this itty-bitty log cabin church. It's so tiny. This tiny church is a miniature reconstruction of a log church that was here. The church was one of the oldest in the South, built by German Lutheran immigrants way back in 1745. Thankfully, the doors are not locked, so I'm going to take a quick look inside. I think this church might be smaller than the church I saw near Savannah, Georgia a few months ago. Taking a look inside, there's a pulpit and 4 little pews. Each pew can fit only 1 person. I'm not sure if they conduct sermons here. Another note about the tiny church. The reconstructed church was built in 1961, not only is this a miniature replica of the original church from 1745. The logs are from that original church, so these logs are nearly 300 years old. The newer church has an interesting history also. The church was built across the street in 1868, burned to the ground in 1939, and rebuilt that same year. Quite a history for the Friedens Church. A little further east is the city of Burlington. I'm in the downtown area at the LabCorp building. It probably makes sense for this particular company to have this sculpture in front of their building. This is a pretty tall sculpture too. The sculpture is named Genesis, and it was created by an artist, Gary Boyce. The sculpture is in the form of a double-helix, which mimics the structure of DNA. The sculpture is 40 feet high and weighs about 3,000 pounds and rests atop this fountain. It's also illuminated at night, and the security guard just came out and suggested that we leave. So, bye-bye. Now heading back westbound, and Greensboro has a new loop highway, Interstate 840. Most of the loop highway is complete. North Carolina is building interstate highways at a very quick pace. I'll be on a few of those interstates to get to my next destination. The western end of Interstate 840 ends at another new highway, Interstate 73. And then I have to get on a combination of blue Interstate 85 and green Interstate 85. And what the heck is a blue I-85 and a green I-85 interstate? Seems kinda odd to me. At least I'm heading the right direction, since the big green sign says this way to Highboy in Charlotte. And now up here, the blue 85 goes to the left, and I stay to the right for green 85. My dad says the green 85 is the old 85, and blue 85 is the new 85. That just makes things more confusing. Thanks, Dada. But wait, I have to get on blue 74, even though it says Winston-Salem. So I took 840 to 73 to blue 85 to green 85 to 74. And I didn't make any wrong turns. Thank goodness exit 70 is my exit. Somehow after all those highways, I've made it to Furnitureland South, which some call the Disney World of Furniture because this place is huge. This is considered a furniture destination, drawing business from all over the southeastern U.S. At the store entrance is this very large highboy. Would you look at the size of that furniture? It's gargantuan. This highboy is 85 feet tall and 40 feet wide. It's built out of stucco over a steel frame, and its decorative look like a wooden highboy. This giant furniture was built by Sid Lenger, who built another large piece of furniture, which we'll see in a few minutes. The building that this highboy is attached to is the United States' largest furniture resale store at an incredible 1.3 million square feet of floor space. This is the first of many stores in the area which are known as Furniture Row. Look at the legs on this highboy. They each look like they're big claws grasping a ball. This is not only the entrance to the building, but there's quite a bit of seating out here. This thing looks so massive looking up at it. I wonder how much clothing can be placed inside all those drawers. Also inside this building is the largest Subway restaurant and a large Starbucks. I guess everything is large in Furnitureland South. Let's head to another large piece of furniture. How clever. Westmoreland Drive is to the west, and Eastmoreland Drive is to the east. I'm now in Highboy, making my visit to the third of the three principal cities in the Piedmont Triad that I've been to during this 2-day road trip. On Westwood Avenue, this road dead ends into another piece of very large furniture. Look how big it is. To provide scale, I'm standing next to the world's largest chest of drawers, and I'm so cool, I'm not even gonna look at the camera. Highboy is known as the furniture capital of the world. This chest of drawers was also created by Sid Lenger, and is also created with a stucco facade. What's different about this chest of drawers is this piece of faux furniture is self-standing. Unlike the Highboy we just saw, otherwise the Highboy would be the largest chest of drawers. This bureau was rebuilt by Lenger in 1996. The original bureau was much shorter and had a mirror attached to its top. This version is much taller, 38 feet high, and added the pair of socks. Since 1996, the bureau and socks have been painted different colors. Lenger preferred the classic wood colors, but after he died in 2003, the bureau was painted a hideous gray color. But finally in 2018, ownership of the bureau was sold to Highpoint University, who used Sid Lenger's original paint formula to paint the chest a cherry wood color, and to paint the socks with the colors used by the university and the city's baseball team. And now on to another large piece of furniture. Now in Thomasville, North Carolina, about a 20-minute drive or so from Highpoint. The population is about 27,000, and there is something very large at the center of downtown, which I'm walking to now. There's a painted mural on the building just past the gas pumps. The city was founded in 1857 and was named for founder John Warwick Thomas, a prominent politician who pushed to have a railroad built here. Thomasville is known for manufacturing chairs, and to commemorate that, the world's largest Duncan Phyfe chair was placed in the center of downtown. Commonly just called the chair, the marker states it's an exemplar, an inspiration for future generations to emulate and perpetuate the achievements of our time. The chair was named for its designer. His name was Duncan Phyfe. This version of the chair is made of concrete and installed here in 1950. The original chair was built by the Thomasville Chair Company in 1922 out of lumber and steel hide. However, that chair deteriorated and was replaced by this concrete version, which was made to look like a wooden chair. In 1960, Vice Presidential candidate Lyndon B. Johnson stopped here to greet the citizens of Thomasville during his campaign's Whistle Stop tour. To provide some scale on how large this chair is, I'm standing next to it. This chair is 30 feet tall, and the base of the seat is 10.5 feet wide, and sitting on a granite pedestal made of Indiana limestone. This chair is bigger than another Duncan Phyfe chair near Washington, D.C., but that one, even though it claims to be the world's largest, is only 19 feet tall. To commemorate the town's namesake and founder, John Warwick Thomas, this town has a large statue not far from the big chair. There are some markers on the statue's pedestal. Thomas was born in the year 1800 and passed away in 1871. Time to move on to my next destination. Now at a fairly busy truck stop just off exit 86 Belmont Road in the city of Linwood. I'm at Wild Bill's truck stop and restaurant to see a common roadside attraction. By the way, I'm heading southbound on Interstate 85, which was widened a few years ago and is just a few feet from this truck stop. Anyway, the common attraction is a variety of Muffler man. Some call it a pioneer man, a cowboy, a prospector, or even a, quote, Daniel Boone. This roadside giant looks like the one I saw at the furniture store in Fort Payne, Alabama. I think there are a few others around the country that are the same Muffler man variety as this one. Problem is, this giant is very hard to miss. He's under a big sign, and don't you think it would be better facing the southbound traffic, where we would be right before the exit ramp? Then again, this truck stop doesn't need the help of this roadside giant to bring in business. Rumor has it this truck stop is a well-known place to have a quick hookup. Let's quickly move on. I've reached the city of Salisbury, and I'm at the old Lutheran cemetery, established 1768. The land that the cemetery sits on was given to the German Lutheran congregation by John Louis Beard, a prominent state official from that time. The first gravesite in this cemetery is John Beard's daughter. She passed away in 1755. Many Revolutionary and Confederate soldiers are buried here. That's why I entered the cemetery, and I had to walk to a far corner to see a rather unique burial site. Is a small gravesite here, where just a foot was interred here. Yep, just a foot. The grave marker says the foot of James A. Reed, severed by a freight train on November 25th, 1893. So apparently the man was still alive when he had 1 foot in the grave. Okay, that was bad. And to point out something even more odd, the gravesite of the foot has a footstone. The story is 88-year-old James Reed's foot somehow ended up on the train tracks, and a train came by and cut off the foot. So I guess instead of throwing the foot away somewhere, he decided to bury the foot in the cemetery. The foot didn't just go quietly in the ground. James Reed also arranged for a proper interment ceremony when the foot was buried. For real, a gravesite service for a man's foot. Notice the railroad tracks behind the wall of the cemetery? Maybe the foot amputation occurred not far from here. Those tracks are close. They look to be about, a foot away. When James Reed passed away 7 years later, he wasn't buried near his foot. He was buried at a cemetery a few miles away. So he's buried in 2 different places? Oh, okay, moving on. Now in downtown Salisbury, where there's an interesting piece of art to denote a historic event. Take a look at this marker. It says George Washington was a visitor in the town of Salisbury on May 30th and 31st, 1791. In 2016, Salisbury marked that occasion by installing this artwork near the point where President Washington greeted the citizens of Salisbury. So, since President Washington is extending his hand in friendship, who am I not to return the favor? Along with George Washington in the sculpture are a woman and her child waiting to be greeted by the then president. This marker states this artwork was dedicated on August 5th, 2016 to commemorate the 225th anniversary of Washington's visit to Salisbury.
Another word for 225th anniversary.
What is Quasqui Bicentennial? The child on the sculpture is very excited to see the president. The sculptors are Tekla and Dan Howican, who own Black Mountain Ironworks, based in the nearby town of the same name. The sculptors have many prominent pieces of artwork in nearby Asheville, Illinois, and their artwork has been featured in exhibits around the world. The artwork was paid for by Salisbury resident Carl Brimmer, whose goal was to provide a living history to Salisbury by gifting the city with sculptures of notable people that lived in Salisbury or visited here. The building behind the sculpture is the Rowan Museum. The museum was originally the Rowan County Courthouse and contains many artifacts from the county's history going back to colonial days. Alright, moving on. I have just enough time to visit downtown Charlotte and the surrounding area. Charlotte is the most populated city in North Carolina, with a metro area population of almost 3 million. Now on Interstate 77, and the skyline is in view, Charlotte is a prominent banking hub. Bank of America, Truist, and Wells Fargo have headquarters here. The city is also the home of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. There are also several Major League sports teams based here. No Major League Baseball teams are based here, but Charlotte is home to the NBA's Charlotte Hornets, owned by Michael Jordan. I looked all over town, but I couldn't find an NFL franchise here. My final stop in this video is at this business park on the west side of Charlotte, not far from the airport. And in front of one of these buildings is this giant metallic head. The sculpture is called Metalmorphosis and was created by Czech artist David Cherney. The head has 40 pieces divided into 7 segments, and those segments rotate independently of each other. They form this face when all the segments align. The sculpture also used to spit water, but thankfully that was turned off. The head pieces are not rotating today, however. Metalmorphosis is 22 feet tall and weighs over 14 tons. The metal is very reflective, so I bet the water feature underneath the head, plus the lighting, would add to the awesomeness of the sculpture. The sculpture looks like it's staring right into your soul when you look straight into its face. I can't tell if this guy has a mustache or if it's smiling. I think the goal is to have you stare at it. Even with the weather as crummy as it is, kind of drizzly and cold, there have been a number of people that have visited the sculpture and more just arrived, so I'll take off and let them take photos and videos without me here. I have a long drive back to Georgia also. And that's it for my day trip along the I-85 corridor across North Carolina. Thankfully the rain held off and we got to see a bunch of places. Where will I go next? You'll find out next time. Thanks for watching. Bye! It's already very dark and I'm just now getting back into South Carolina and still 4.5 hours until I get home.